Okay, so here we are. Next part of the West Coast ebook. We are breaking down near close and far tight slot in this one. Now, near close is a good complement to the near close flex because it runs similar run concepts. The front is similar, however, you can do some different things out of it, and the alignment is different, which causes different blocking and all that good stuff. So, for your audibles for near close, it's pretty easy. You're actually just going to change spacing to halfback inside, so X to halfback inside, and you're going to go PA strong flow is going to become Z spot. So you're going to have halfback inside, fullback dive, post drag, and Z spot, and that is how you're going to run near close as your complement to your near close flex. Now we're going to come out again in 3-4 odd, cover 4. Now for this example, honestly, most of the time, you're going to go from near close flex to near close. So keep in mind, we will probably audible from near close flex down to near close. However, for the sake of the video, we're not going to do that. So I'm just going to come right out in Z spot just so we have Z spot right off the rip. Now, typically most people are going to, again, they're going to try to blitz you. They're going to do something like this, right? Now, you're going to audible to this formation. Now, if you're audibling to this formation, yes, the runs are still good. However, we're going to show you guys how the passes work and how they complement each other. Now, the first setup out of Z spot is going to be your flood concept. Tight end's already on a corner route. You're going to streak the slot wide receiver, and you're going to do that. The last thing you could do is you could keep the X route where it is. You could also put the X route, which is the left wide receiver, on a hitch route. You could put him on a whip route. You could put him on a deep corner route if you want. You could put him on a regular out route if you want. You could put him on a streak route if you want. You could put him on a streak route if you want, just to kind of create like double vertical seams, something like that. There's a lot of he's really an X factor on this play. You can even put him on a post route if you want, just to create a flood completely to the left side of the field. But again, the same rules apply. Same rules apply here. We're going to motion this guy out. You're going to snap. You're going to throw it to the flat. You're going to get upfield. But because of the way this is aligned with the tight end, you're going to get better blocking, and you're going to see something good happen there. Now, tight end corner route, you can hot route him, but it doesn't really matter. It's the same corner route, which is cool. Now, again, we're going to do one more time. You can see we're going to do flood. We're going to pinch. We're going to pinch. We're going to press. We're going to boop, 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 something like this. It's going to look like that. Oh, look, he's going to stand in the gap because he really thinks we're going to run it here, right? Well, not really. We're going to motion him out, and it's going to be a really quick snap, throw to the flat, good blocking, get upfield, get yardage, make somebody miss, do something like that. Cool. Flood concept's great. Easy enough. Next setup that we're going to show you guys out of this is we're going to block both halfbacks. We're going to put the tight end on a post route this time, so it's going to look like that. Then we're going to put the outside wide receiver X on a hitch route. Now we have that post and the hitch like we did in near close flex with the post and the hitch, but we're going to keep Edelman on that little spot route. The reason why we keep Edelman on that spot route is because it delays. And when I say it delays, I mean it delays. It's weird. I don't know why it does it, but for whatever reason, that route delays his release. So you're going to see, well, you know what? Let me use him. It's probably a smarter idea. You're going to see Edelman stall at the line of scrimmage and then get upfield. So you're going to see he waits and then he gets upfield. Boom. Low ball. Obviously, my user safety was there. He wouldn't be there normally because, let's be real, that user safety would not cover that. But he delays at the start. So we're going to do it one more time just so you can see what happens. We're going to do it against cover 4, but we're actually going to keep all the zones in the cover 4, and we're going to just user May over there instead. So you can see we're going to put that post, we're going to do that hitch, we're going to block the halfback, something like this. Edelman is going to delay and then get into his route. He stalls. Once he stalls, he creates enough spacing because the zones vacate. And that's going to be something that your opponent is going to have to user. Now, once your opponent starts using that, well, guess what? We now have a post and a hitch route combo, right? Well, that post and the hitch route combo is going to be very good at, well, destroying most zones. So we're going to use our Mosley here. So we're going to cover Edelman, all right? Like, our user is going to cover Edelman. You know what? We are just going to man him up just to simulate the user actually doing something. And then we're going to just sit on the D tackle. So we are using Julian Edelman now, right? Well, if we do that, this post route is going to get open because it's going to get underneath the zones. The hitch is going to distract the zones, and then that's all that happens. It's pretty simple. Now, cool thing about this formation is it's so balanced, right? We could do it to the other way too. We could put the outside wide receiver on a post, and we could put Edelman on a hitch route, a regular hitch route, and then we could put the tight end on a streak route. So it looks like post hitch streak. Oh boy, we did that whole thing again, right? The post hitch streak route. We keep doing this, right? Like, it's similar concepts, different formations. It's just good ways to keep your opponent from keying in on anything, right? So we're going to press. You're going to see that post route is going to pop open kind of late, but you see the hitch route distracts all the zones. Very clean, very easy. Nothing crazy about it. We're going to go into replay so you can see this hitch route over here. This hitch route over here distracts the purple. He drifts back down to it, and when he drifts back down to it, that creates the space right there for the post route to get open right over in the middle there, and you just throw it. And your opponent is going to have to use so many different things that you just throw it to where they're not. Another cool thing about this play is you can keep Sanu on that little baby out route, and you could basically just snap throw that out route once it gets towards the sideline. Now, yes, the purple zone there isn't the greatest example because purple zones actually do a decent job, but let's say they're in cover 2. You can keep that little baby out route, and you can snap throw that out route with a good possession catch, and it gets right in front of them. But let's say they blitz you, right? If they blitz you, which they will, then that hitch route's going to be a really good option. If they blitz you, that hitch route is going to be a very good option. Again, it's all about understanding what your opponent is doing. It's all about understanding how to beat what your opponent is doing and why it beats what your opponent is doing. So, if they blitz you, hitch route's great. If they blitz you, whip route's great. If they don't, we already showed you the post, the hitch, combos, the flood route concepts, all that stuff. A lot of different things you can do out of this play in order to make your opponent respect what you want to do. Now, moving on to the next play, we are going to talk about out of near close. We're going to talk about post drag. Now, post drag is also very cool because, well, we still have a cover 3 bomb out of this, just like we did out of near close flex. We're going to go cover 3 sky, and we are going to go with something similar. We're going to put the tight end on a corner route. We're going to block the halfback, and we're going to put the X wide receiver on a corner route this time. And now we have a cover 3 bomb set up just out of a different formation. But as you can see, cover 3 bomb exists. He crosses his face, same exact way as near close flex, out of a different formation, and that's all you got to do to make that happen. You could also streak the tight end if you want, but it's not necessary. Again, it's all a matter of just kind of another variation that you can do in order to get the same results, but just out of different looks, which is, again, really part of football, because as long as you know what reads you're making and your opponent can't key in on anything specifically, you're going to have success. Now, the cool thing about this formation is the fact that we still have that little halfback route. Now, you can also do something like that with the halfback route where you streak the tight end. We put him on an out route. Maybe we put Sanu on a whip route or something like that. Now, this is more of a blitz beater, right? Like, this is, again, a blitz beater. But chances are your opponent is going to be blitzing you to try to stop the run because people are desperate to try to stop the run out of these formations. Like, they are desperate to stop the run out of these formations. So maybe you motion him out, snap, throw the wheel route, boom. Nice, easy read. Out route's open too. You have 2 routes you could throw to, either or. Doesn't really matter. It's really your choice. But it's nice. It's easy. It's simple. Now, cool thing is if they run Tampa 2 against this, right? Maybe they'll run a Tampa 2. Maybe they'll do Tampa 2 blitz, right? Like they'll do one of those soft squat blitzes, like they try to do, right? Or maybe they do cloud flats. Who cares? Like honestly, it's like who cares? Like what do they do? Like it doesn't matter. We could do whatever we want to the backside guy. Put him on a slant this time. Motion out Edelman. Now we're going to snap. We're going to throw it. You know, if pressure and accurate didn't exist, that route's there. Tom Brady, you got to be better. You really got to be better, bud. You are Tom Brady. But again, it's like, who cares? Like maybe we want to block the tight end, so we put the tight end on delay route instead. Cool. We'll block the tight end. We'll still put Edelman on an out route. We'll motion him out. We're gonna snap throw it to the halfback. Boom, boom, possession catch. He gets about 10 yards. Now, Jamal Adams cracked him. Cool, but you see the routes are there, possessions are open, all that good stuff. It's available to you. Now, last thing we're gonna show you guys is kind of tricky, but it's cool. It's a cover 2 bomb. We're gonna motion him across. Now we do something like this, and now we end up with something that looks like this. Cover 2. We're gonna pinch. We're gonna press. We're gonna motion. We're just gonna go control Adams over here instead. The reason why this is a cover 2 bomb is that deep corner route now that was the post route. You can see here how it gets open on the sideline. Edelman's just got to catch it. In Mutt, obviously, post flag elite, that's going to be a catch because it's a post flag elite, and it's not going to be Julian Edelman with whatever abilities he has on him. I don't even know what abilities he has on him, but anyway, it's pretty simple. You literally just motion that deep post over, and when you motion that deep post over, it gets open up the sideline. Like you streak the guy in order to just pull the safety, and then that cloud flat doesn't get there, and then once he breaks like that, you just kind of throw it, possession catch it, boom, right there. That's how you shred cover 2. Again, it's another wrinkle to add to an already secondary formation. Your opponent's not going to see this too often. Then you add that in when they start running cover 2. You can already do different things versus cover 2. Already do the same motion, different motions, all that stuff. It's a lot. It's a lot for them to handle, and that's why this playbook is just so good. All right, so now we're going to talk about the runs out of this formation. Fullback dive, halfback inside. It's really similar to the close flex. It really is, but it still needs to be noted that they do block a little differently, and because they block a little differently, we're gonna just kind of discuss it. The difference is obviously where the tight end lines up. Tight end lines up to the right of the formation, and because of that, you have more success if you just snap it and just run it. However, user shoots a gap or something like that, like it does make things harder, right? So, what do you do to counter like people who know how to do certain things, right? Well, you do the same motion with the wide receiver. You bounce him over, you hit him in the gap like that, and then you just kind of read it and go from there. I personally like close flex better than this, but again, you still want to have the full complement of the runs out of every formation that you have. Now we're just going to keep running a few more times just so you can see that there is definitely something to this, like that right there. It's a real easy read when it's open, but like I said before with these runs are not about hitting home runs. These runs are not about getting touchdowns. These runs are honestly about keeping your opponent honest and keeping the chains moving. And if you can do that, and if you can be consistent enough with just keeping the chains moving and keeping your opponent honest, then you're going to have success. Don't know why he did that weird juke there, but regardless, we're fine. We're going to do one more time just so you can see that against somebody who tries to do this. And this is that like run setup, right? This is that run defense setup that they really love. Well, guess what? Like it doesn't work against that formation at all. Like nobody shoots a gap, nobody does anything. So you do that, pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. Now you can still motion him. You can still motion the wide receiver, like you can. Like if you want to, you can motion the wide receiver across, but it's not necessary. Like I just showed you, it's not necessary, and it's a more balanced formation than before, just because of the alignment of the tight end and the wide receiver and everything. So. Do you have to motion him? No. Can you? Yes. Halfback inside, same thing. Halfback inside is still good. You don't really do anything different out of halfback inside either. It's just halfback inside. You snap it, you see a hole, you take it. Like I said, this formation does have better standard run blocking because it does have easier ways to hit the hole. For whatever reason, with the tight end being opposite, I think it has to do with the fact that the runs are going to the left, and the tight end doesn't block the linebacker. The tight end only blocks the linebacker on his side. So you end up with the offensive tackle taking that linebacker out of the play every time, which I think helps facilitate why it looks more efficient out of this formation. But you can see here that somebody shoots a gap, somebody shoots a gap. I mean, it's not perfect. But you can still go halfback inside, and then you can still do the motion. And if you do the motion, well, guess what? You can still end up with something very similar. So you end up doing this, you motion him across, and then you snap it like right about there, same thing. Maybe he blocks, chips somebody inside, makes somebody miss, anything like that. That's how you make the runs happen. That's really it. Like I said, like the runs out of these formations are not to get touchdowns. They are just to keep your opponent defending the run. And if you come out in this and still run the ball, you come out in something else and run the ball. That's how you keep your opponent on his toes, and you keep your opponent honest and keep the chains moving. All right, so now we're going to get into the far formations. We're going to move into the far. Now, we're only really going to look at far tight slot. Now, far tight slot, you have halfback dive, you're going to have fullback dive, you're going to have X spot, and flats. Now, we're going to talk about the two runs first because they're quicker. Because again, they're just simple runs. We're not looking for touchdowns here. We're literally just looking. We're literally just looking at ways to keep your opponent from selling out against passes. And if they sell against the pass, well, guess what? We'll be fine. We're going to talk about the halfback dive first because the halfback dive is way easier to explain. It's a halfback dive. Instead of halfback inside, it's a dive. Do you really run halfback dive a lot out of this formation? No. But it's there. And it's there because it can work. It can work. Like, it can. Now, do you motion somebody inside? You can. You can motion him a step and snap it. Maybe somebody gets a block, something like that. Like, there was a lane there if Mosley doesn't shoot the gap. Stuff like that. However, generally speaking, like, you just call it if the hole is there, right? Like, am I going to call halfback dive right now? Probably not. However, maybe I call halfback dive now. Because there's a lane there and it's a better option. But it's all a matter of making the read and then knowing that what you're calling is the right call. Like, let's say like we spread the linebackers, right? Like now maybe I want to call halfback dive. Now maybe is a good call, right? Okay, now look at that. It's a matter of understanding the fronts and knowing when is a opportune time to call a run, or maybe a good opportune time to hit them off guard with a run, something like that. Same thing with the fullback dive here. The fullback dive, you can run it only to the right. You can't flip the fullback dive. So keep that in mind. You cannot flip the fullback dive. So most people are going to, again, sell out against the run, but then maybe you motion this wide receiver across, right? And then you snap it there, and then you hit a hole. Is that fullback dive good? Yes, the fullback dive is still good. The fullback dive out of all of these formations are good. You can hit something for an easy yards, easy gain, anything like that. Now, for whatever reason, this motion just messes up the blocking, as you can see, because there's just a nice hole on the backside every time. But I'm running it with Devlin right now. If I was running it with Sony Michel or James White, these are probably touchdowns. Now, if someone does something like this, right? Like, do I want to run the fullback dive against this? Maybe not. But you can still get some yardage, keep your opponent honest, keep your opponent defending the fullback dive, and then you hit him with the passes. So now let's get into passes, right? All right, our first pass we're going to talk about is, well, actually, no, it's not going to be X-Spot. X-Spot's corner route sucks. I misspoke before. I'm sorry. We're not talking about X-Spot. I'm not used to this one as much. We're talking mesh. Mesh is the play that's better. Mesh is the one that we want to use. The reason why we use mesh is because that corner route is sharper. The mesh corner route is better. So the mesh corner route is really good because we basically can do that motion out corner route that we do out of other formations from here. We can motion him out. We snap it. He breaks outside. Boom. Yep. This is one of those few tight formations where you can motion out the slot wide receiver. And because of that, well, it makes things a lot harder to defend because you can just motion this guy out and you snap it when he's outside. He breaks outside. Boom. Sideline. Easy. You can run it to the other side too. So we're going to flip the formation. You run it to the wide side. You can run it to the short side. It doesn't matter. It's the same exact read either way. But you're going to see here, we're going to motion out Sanu. We're going to snap it. He breaks outside, and possession catch it on the sideline. Again, this is one of those plays where it's not a whole lot of options. However, having something like this in your arsenal is very good because your opponent doesn't see these formations every day. They might see near close flex, but I can guarantee you they don't see far tight slot. And then you can do something like this, where you put the tight end on a corner route, or the tight end on a post route, or the tight end on a streak route, or whatever the case may be. Like, you could do whatever you want. The key really is just streaking that outside guy, and then just motioning him out, and then snapping it, and then throwing it when he breaks. It's the simplest thing. But it's a really nice way to pick up some yardage. It's going to make your opponent key on it, because your opponent's going to have to find a way to defend that. Chances are they're going to find a way to defend that by calling cover 2. But then if you're in this formation and they call cover 2, which they will, you can then do something cool where you put the tight end on the corner route, and that tight end corner route's going to get open against cover 2. It is. It just is. Eventually. Boop. Eventually. It will get open against cover 2. But you could also do other things too where you actually get something open against the cover 2. Like that, and that's the cool thing though, right? Is because you can do the basic setup. The super basic setup. You can do the super basic setup. Like this. You can motion him, but then you could also just put a tight end on an out route. And he'll get open against the cover 2 as well. Because now he's going to be underneath. Instead of running into the cloud flat, he'll just be drifting underneath. And you can see here, the tight end gets a nice opportunity to playmaker. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the playmaker ability. But if he had the playmaker ability, you would see he'd get wide open. And that's where the playmaker ability comes in. Like, playmaker ability, 100%. But that's mesh. Now, the next play we're going to talk about is flats. The reason why we call flats is because we have a deep post and we have a motion ability on the crossing route. Now, the crossing route is the cool thing that we're going to talk about here. Because if they are in cover 4 or cover 3, which in this case they're in cover 4, especially if they're blitzing you out of cover 4, what happens here is you can motion this guy across in that crossing route, and he stays, and then you just throw the crossing route towards the sideline, because for whatever reason that crossing route he doesn't flip. For whatever reason, the crossing route does not flip. So you see here, he motions out wide, the crossing route doesn't flip. Real easy throw against drop coverage, because for whatever reason, that route's uncoverable against zones. Like cover 3, cover 4, doesn't matter. Cover 2 will do a decent job against it. So against cover 2, and you do it against that. And if your opponent catches you off guard, I'm sorry. But cover 2 is the only thing that this will actually cover. So you can see here, we'll just motion. And you see he's going to snap out there. And you can see he covers that, right? So nothing's really open against the cover 2. So just for the record, don't do that motion against cover 2. I just want you to be aware. You can probably playmaker somebody if you get lucky. But the other thing out of flats is obviously a cover 3 bomb. Again, a cover 3 bomb. However, with this play, I highly recommend you do it with the wide receivers to the wide side, like we run the rest of the game, like we run the rest of the formations. Wide receivers to the wide side, tight end, corner route. Sanu can do whatever he wants. Actually, the cool thing out of this is if you do motion him, you could still end up with a cover 3 bomb with this motion and this post route, or at the very see right there, boom, over the top. Because for whatever reason, that deep third will get distracted by that crossing route. However, it's still better if they're in cover 3. If they're in cover 3 and you call flats, it's still better to put the tight end on the corner route because the alignment is better. But what you can do is you can do something like this where you have a cover 3 bomb, but then you motion this guy out, and now you have the quick throw to X, and you have a cover 3 bomb over the top. So now you have 2 different ways to beat cover 3 on the same play because of the motion and the spacing, because now you're going to have a deep post from the middle wide receiver as opposed to the outside wide receiver. So that's how you beat cover 3. The cool thing about flats, though, is really that cover 3 bomb and the motion here that you get out of this crossing route. Other than that, this formation is kind of just a secondary formation. Like I said, there are certain setups you can do. Obviously, all the different hot routes, all the different variations that you can do. You can put the tight end on a post. You can put the slot wide receiver on a hitch route. You get a post hitch, and you can do things like that. Like, there's a lot of different hot routes, a lot of different adjustments that you can make. Like, there's nothing that's like concrete. It's a lot of the same concepts conceptually. Like, you could take this formation, you could put the slot wide receiver here on a post, and you could put the tight end on an out route, and you could do something like that. Or you could put the tight end on the post and have the wide receiver on a post, and you could have the wide receiver out here on a hitch, and then you could motion this guy over here, and he ends up in a position where he's now able to block. Or maybe you put him on an out route, and then you have an out route and a post route and a hitch route and a post route, and like, it's just, there's a lot of different things you can do, a lot of different options. There's nothing set in stone in this formation either, like the rest of the playbook. Like, I'm not one to like give you like direct setups. I really want to give you guys variations and things that you can do, and understand that offense is fluid, and depending on what your opponent is doing, different things might work. Like, you can motion out the halfback here, and he creates a little like bunch formation. You could motion him back in, and you can motion the halfback outside this way, and now he's out wide, and you can, like, there's endless opportunity for you to do different things here, and there's really nothing that's like completely set in stone. Nothing is so different that you can just like manipulate it however you want, depending on your personnel, how you want to use it. Like, if you want to put a tight end at fullback, and your tight end at fullback becomes something that you can utilize as a passer because now it's a better player, you can do that. Like a lot of different things, a lot of different choices. It's really up to you. But I think that is going to do it for part 2, which will cover the near close and the far formations. The next video, we are going to cover the I slot and strong close and strong slot, because those are, again, secondary formations, but strong close just has so much stuff in it that I don't really need to go over strong close. It's enough of that already available. However, I do want to show you guys that, again, since it is available to you, that I want to show you guys just the little different things that you can do out of that in comparison to everything else. But that is going to do it for this video, guys. And on to the next one.